Hi, welcome to the Gamesplainer. I'm Jeff the Gamesplainer, and today I'm gamesplaining Land vs. Sea. So Land vs. Sea is a 2 to 4 player game. The 3 and 4 player rules are kind of an extension, at least that's how it feels. So I'm going to treat this as a 2-player game. There is a different way to play 3 players. If you're playing 4, you're basically splitting the 2-player version between 2 players on each side. The whole concept of the game is you have 2 tiles. You're placing one of those tiles next to the gradually forming map. You must match land to land or sea to sea, or if there's a spot like that, you will need to throw in land and sea. So every side that touches must match what has previously gone in. Now, what's going to happen is as soon as a land or sea area is completed, the person who owns land or sea will score points. So that area has been completed of land. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4 tiles involved in the land area. So land will score 4 points. Because C was the person who closed that off, these 2 crosses give 2 points to C. If land had closed that down, they would get the 2 points. And the same goes for the C area. If this one is closed out here, there are 3 areas creating C, which gives C 3 points. Whoever closes off gets the extra point for that cross. So in this case, it was C, so C would get 4 points. Once you have played a tile, so let's say there, you will select one of the 2 face-up tiles. You can go from either pile that you wish. It's entirely up to you. So he might, just for the moment, grab from there. Each tile has 2 sides. You're only ever leaving face up the side that everyone's already seen. So the side that you can see at the moment needs to stay face up. Privately, you can look at the other side to make its selection as to which one to use. The only time you'll actually turn it over is if you are using that backside. If you play a tile that has that symbol on it, so for example, he might place it there, you immediately get to place another tile. So you have 2 tiles, you can place the second tile. Let's say he puts that there. He would then draw 2 tiles back up to his full amount. If this tile was played, so a tile with that symbol, that allows you to steal a tile from another player. So if, for example, this is what he had, he could play that tile, which would allow him to play a second tile. And then as his second tile, he can play that one, which allows him to steal one of these tiles. Then he would redraw up to the 2 tiles. And that's the basic game. The game will continue until all the tiles have been used, and whoever has the most points collected through the game is the winner. So if you've got a whole bunch of spots open, you're not able to collect the points for that spot, you don't get any extra points for it. There is also one extra tile which sits not in either of the piles, so it can't be selected. One side is sea, the other side land. And what happens with that tile is if you are able to, for example, get an area like that, so it's entirely surrounded by land, but no one's actually been able to fill it in because there are no tiles that actually have just land, you get to gain this one into the space. And the same happens with C, and what that does is it gives 5 extra points to the person who's completed that land area. So this last one that was handed in would have completed it. You'd add that. The person who's completed gets the 5 plus these 2 as extra points. Plus that's an extra tile to be counted for land. And that's the basic game. There are a couple of extra rules that can be added in, and I would 100% suggest to add them in. I think it's worthwhile. So what those extra rules are, let's deal with the coral and mountains first, or mountains and coral. So this area here is coral. This is what the mountains areas look like. Sorry, there were mountains on the tile that got added in. So these get treated exactly the same as each other. What happens with it, I'll just talk about coral because it's easier to see. You put one in, nothing happens. That's fun. When you add the second one, Because you've put coral next to coral, that will get you a point per tile that coral field goes through. So that would gain the water 2 more points. If on a future turn that was added in, C would gain 3 points because the coral field is going across 3 areas. And that will happen all the way through the game. It doesn't matter who placed each one down. So it might be land placing this one down. C will gain those 3 points anyway. The other one to watch out for, the other area of scoring that can be added on, is caravans and ships. So you notice this tile over here has a ship on it. This is realistically looking at trade routes. So if this is added in, firstly you'd get the points for the coral, so C would get 2 more points. And let's just imagine that C has added this one in. Because one of the boats has been placed next to another boat, you would get 2 points. That's an immediate 2 points. And that would go to whoever has actually placed that. So if it was actually land placing that, C would get the reef points, so the 2 points for that. But then because a ship has been placed next to another ship or next to a caravan, land would get 2 points for doing that if land was the person who placed it. If that is being placed in, whoever has placed that will get another 2 points because there's a caravan just there and goes next to the ship one. So let's, for example, imagine land put that in. Land would get 2 more points. It doesn't matter how many other ships and caravans you're next to, you get 2 points for being next to or part of the caravan. Now, what happens with that at the end of the game? We find each area that has ships and caravans and creating this trade route. So it's not 100% evident within the rules, but I suggest that you would need to have 2 next to each other to create a trade route. Just having one isn't going to get any extra points. You're then having a look at what is within that trade route the most. So in this case, we've got 2 ships and 1 caravan. So C would win that because they have more ships than there are caravans. If there was another caravan, no one would win that, no one would get any points. But because C wins that, they get a point per element that's within that trail. So C would get 3 points. 1, 2, 3 in this particular circumstance. And that's pretty much it for the ships and caravans bit. The third area, it's called the Waypoints, and it's about these. You should only have 1 extra of these. I've put 2 here just so I can keep track of who's who. So a waypoint can get added once you have played a tile. So you do your turn, then you can add a waypoint if you have one. It can be placed anywhere on the map on a matching type. So the orange one goes on land, the blue one goes on sea. So let's say land put this tile in, they could put the waypoint there. 1 extra point will come from the waypoint for the person who closes off the area. So whoever closes off this area of land will get the extra point, just like with these little crosses. The other way a waypoint can be returned is if that tile is surrounded. So if on a previous turn he had played that there, when this is added in, even if it didn't close off the actual land, which it happens to be doing at the moment, but if it didn't close off the land, that would get returned to whoever played this tile, and that person would get a point for doing that. And that is the extra bonus elements and things to think about. That waypoint thing is recommended for the 3 or 4 player game. The 2 player, it's very optional. I suggest using all 3 extra elements within the game just to kind of keep your head working, but play it without them first time, and when you know the game, then add that stuff to give you some extra bonus. So look, I think I will leave that there. Please go ahead and watch my gameplay to get a feel for how the game actually plays. If you have any comments or suggestions, please write them below. If you have any games that you would like to be gamesplained, please shoot me an email to thegamesplainer@gmail.com. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter @thegamesplainer to keep up to date with the games that I'm playing. Subscribe to my videos to keep up to date with the games that I'm gamesplaining. And until next time, enjoy gaming.